This is Real Life with Deb Waterbury, a real show for real people with real issues. And now, here's your host, Dr. Deb Waterbury.
Welcome to our series on the Real Life with Deb Waterbury show on motherhood. And so today, we actually want to talk about being a stay-at-home mom.
Being a stay-at-home mama.
Yes, and you know, that has gotten such a bad rap in years past. I think it's definitely made a resurgence in the generation that's younger than you and I, which we don't have to say who that is or how old that is.
A few generations.
Yeah, but you and I, whenever we had kids, it was not necessarily seen as legitimate. I would think that'd be a better word to use.
Or worthy.
Or worthy of saying that. Because now, you know, I meet a mom and I'm always careful to say, do you work outside the home?
Right.
Whereas when we and that's not, it was always, do you work? And that intimation there was that if you didn't have a job outside the home, you weren't working.
Right.
And I remember just, I don't remember being angry about that, but I do remember feeling the lack of worth.
Right.
Feeling the effects of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that even now...
like, what do you mean I don't work?
Exactly.
Let me just tell you what I do on a daily basis.
But you know, that really didn't... I don't remember even when I had kids, my kids were at home, and there was a brief period of time that I was a stay-at-home mom that I don't remember ever feeling like, what do you mean saying I don't work? I remember just feeling like I wasn't doing anything legitimate. That I took on that feeling from the public that made me feel like I didn't have a job.
Right.
It wasn't until my kids were grown and I began ministering to women that became more of a thing, that women were saying, I do work. And then I remember, you know, preaching these sermons on the different, how much money you'd be making a year if you were paid for all the jobs that you
do.
Yeah. And I think, as I recall, and I don't remember the exact number, but it was like around $230-something thousand a year would be the yearly salary.
To pay people individually for the jobs that you're doing.
Because you're talking about chauffeurs and cooks and cleans and cleaners and tutors and all that stuff.
Right.
It was an amazing amount of money that would be paid. However, since it isn't a job, you know, where someone's actually giving you a paycheck, you have to think much more outside the box, and definitely outside of the world box.
Oh, yeah.
Because the world definitely doesn't want to give you any value.
Well, they don't see any value in it. You're supposed to, as a young woman, go to college and find a career. And, you know, as soon as you graduate high school, the next thing is, even before you graduate high school, what are you doing? What's your career? What's your path or whatever? And I've talked to so many young girls who have went to college, pursued that path, and then now, 2-3 years later after graduating, now they're married and they want to be a stay-at-home mom and they can't because they have $80,000 worth of college debt.
Oh,
you know?
Isn't that true?
And it's a sad situation.
It is.
Because really in their heart of hearts, they want to stay home and be a mom, but they had to pursue the career because that's what they thought they should do to have value and worth.
Very good.
Is pursue that career.
Yes.
And then but in their heart, they knew they wanted to be married and maybe even still have a career.
Right.
But to juggle both of those things is nearly impossible.
After
something
that
is
debt,
going to suffer.
Yes. And can't you see that being the trick of the enemy?
Oh, yeah.
That's the trap.
And not saying that women shouldn't have careers and shouldn't have jobs and stuff, but the balance, the balance is going to be difficult, and you need to know that if you want to have children down the road.
Yes,
the balance will be difficult.
And that is that. And I love that you brought up that trap of when I get out of college, I have to have a career because otherwise I am of no import. Right. That's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a lie. Right. And it's a trap. Not that it's not that you shouldn't do that, and not that it's wrong to do that, but it is a trap to make you think that you have to do that in order to have value. Right. And that's what I think. And that is a worldly concept. And we have to understand. You know, I'm gonna look a lot at Proverbs 31 today, but. Understanding the Proverbs 31 woman was an entrepreneur. She had her own business. So it's not about you don't have a job outside of the home. Right. But her value came from how she took care of her home. Her value came in the fact that that was her priority.
And balance.
Yes.
She could balance it all.
She could balance those because that was her priority. I mean, the wife of Lemuel here, the mother of Lemuel here starts it out with, a virtuous woman who can find she's more precious than jewels. Well, she's starting it out by saying that precious woman is a wife and mother first. The career and the entrepreneur aspect of that is not bad, but it is second to family, which is not what the world would tell us these days. And so what I want, we're going to do within this motherhood series, we're doing them on working moms and single moms, and we're going to cover all those aspects. So again, and we do know that especially in today's economy, most women have to be working moms. But it's good for them to want to stay at home. But do they have to be if they... See, because this is another trap, and we could go on and on and on that, you know what I mean? But this is another trap. Like, it's like, how much do you really need? Like, how much stuff do you really need? How big of a house do you really need? How much do you really need in order to be happy? That's right.
And the older I get, the more of a minimalist I want to be in all actuality, because I don't need one more thing. You know, but it's the stuff that you keep chasing that you have to keep working for. But really, when your kids need you, so there has to be balance in that. It's really, I know your heart. You don't want to make women who are working feel like they shouldn't be and they should be stay at home, or stay at home moms feel like what they're doing isn't valuable. There's a balance in both of that.
There is, and it's unfortunate that we have fallen to that trap, because the enemy attacks the home. That's what he's been attacking since the very beginning. With Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, with Cain and Abel, the division there, then dividing them from God in that way. And so he does that today. He's doing it today. His major attack is going to always be on the home. It's on marriage. It's on our children in the school system. Because it affects
the whole core.
Because that's where God's work begins. It begins in the home. And that's necessarily the way that God designed it. Satan knows that. So he knows if he wants to thwart God's work at its root, then attack the home. So we have then, I think many of us have fallen prey to what he is it's very insidious to make us think that our value is outside of the one place where our value must lie. It is very insidious, and it's been very successful as well. So, I wanted to speak briefly today, because I think we know this, but I want to show what the Bible says about this. We know that the value that God gives us is in the home. Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, "Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are older, they will not depart from it." I mean, I hate to sound cliche here, but children are the future. They're the future of Christianity. They're the future of what God has to do in this world.
Right now, at the age they're at right now.
Yes, and your job. Your main job is to grow those children up into the work of the Lord. That's our main job. I mean, everything we do.
Number one.
Yes, everything we do, including raising our children. So our marriage, our children, our jobs, our relationships, the way we behave in this world, everything is to bring God glory. Everything is to advance the kingdom. Everything. And so if we really look at that in terms of my entire reason for existing on this planet right now is to advance the kingdom and show the glory of God.
And it starts with my home.
Yes. And if you don't do that for your children, if it becomes something else, then you're neglecting your purpose at the very onset of where it should be. And again, and the Bible says this over and over again. Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 9 says, "Only take care and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart. All the days of your life, make them known to your children and your children's children." It really is about passing on what we know, because we are by nature children of wrath. So that means your children are children of wrath. They will follow that path of wrathfulness.
Their sinful nature.
Yes, without guidance. You have experience, you've lived, and that's the point of you being older and then imparting that wisdom to your children.
Exactly.
And I think we neglect that sometimes.
I think it reminds me of in 2 Timothy where he's talking to Timothy and he's saying, I've seen this faith in you, which was in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, you know what I mean? And now I've seen and I am sure that it is in you.
Amen.
And that's generations imparting that into children. And Deuteronomy 6 is my favorite, teach these diligently to your children as you walk along the way, as you sit down, as you rise up. Anywhere you are, everywhere you are, in
Yes.
every moment of life.
Yes.
We are teaching children not just good morals and values, because that's important, though. It is important.
It is
But
important.
not just good morals and values, but adoration really for a great God.
Yes.
Because when we have adoration for a great God, then that instills good morals and values,
That's
because
what I
it
was
comes
about to
from
say.
the
Yes,
Word.
yes.
You know?
One will naturally follow the other.
Right.
But you got to get them in the right order.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you lose the greatest part of that.
Right.
And you have to understand that's why the world, and we know that Satan is the god of this world, why the world would tell you have no value if you have chosen and are in a position to be a stay-at-home mom. That somehow or another that's less valuable
Right.
than working outside the home and bringing in money. That is a 100% lie, and it is 180 degrees opposite to what you should know and what should be the truth.
Right.
And Satan, of course, is going to tell you that.
Right.
Because the Bible very clearly tells you this is your primary goal as a woman and as a mother, is to impart in your children the ways of the Lord.
Right. And if you're not a stay-at-home mom, you have to even be more intentional, because the time you have with them is very limited.
Yes.
So if you are a stay-at-home mom, though, oh my gosh, see yourself as valuable.
Yes.
See yourself as God just totally pleased with you
Yes.
and what you've obeyed and submitted to Him to do.
Yes, absolutely.
The high calling.
Right, right. And don't look at the lies.
Right.
And because again, we've said this so often.
Right.
The enemy lies to us.
Yeah.
He lies to you about your value.
Yeah.
He lies to you about who you are.
Yeah.
That is his biggest tool. It's the best tool in his little tool chest.
I think it's really important that stay-at-home moms take care of themselves.
Yes.
If they take care of themselves, they can be a better stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
They have to have girlfriends. You need to have an adult conversation.
Amen.
Like you need to go out and have some coffee with somebody and have
Yes.
adult conversation,
Yes.
you know, and take time for you so that you can be fed, you can be filled up.
Absolutely. And that's good, because that brings up another point that I wanted to touch on before we finish. When this becomes less than productive, when stay-at-home moms become less than productive, and I think that's when their entire lives become about their children.
Right.
Because whereas your primary role is to raise them up in the ways of the Lord, you can't do that if all your attention and everything you think about is just those children, because
Yeah.
then they think they're the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And everything revolves around them. You know, we have that saying, helicopter moms.
Right.
what we do is because the enemy will use anything, and if you do something to an extreme, that's not going to be godly.
No, it's an idol in your life. Your kids
Absolutely.
actually can become an idol
very
in your life.
good, very good. That is absolutely true. And so, being careful that what you said is absolutely right. Have your own life.
Yeah.
Have your own friends.
With God, with your
God.
husband,
Yes,
and
yes.
then your children.
Yes, because
Yeah.
there is a hierarchy
Yeah.
there: God, husband,
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And so but you have to be able to you can't draw from a dry well. So if you're not being fed, you got nothing to give those kids except for themselves.
Right.
And we don't need a bunch of more kids who think they're the center of everything.
No.
They already think that by
Yeah.
being a child of wrath. And as a child of wrath, we're all about self. You need to teach them that that's not what it's all about. And the only way you can do that is if you are continually fed and not have everything be about those kids.
Which is prevalent in our society today. These kids
Yes.
feel like the world revolves around them.
Yes.
And so really, as parents, we are failing them.
Yes.
If we feel like we need to give them everything so that they're happy, well, their happiness is not found in that stuff.
That's right.
We have to train them up that their happiness is found in God and God alone.
Absolutely.
I've seen kids in Africa have nothing,
Yes.
absolutely nothing, but they have Jesus, and the
And they're
smile
so
on their
happy.
face is huge,
That's
and they're playing with a
exactly
little
right.
tin can that they've had for 2 months.
That's exactly right.
I mean, it's insane.
It is insane because priorities are right, and that is not something that is going to be taught to themselves.
Right.
They're going to learn that from their parents.
Right.
That's mama and daddy's.
Right.
That's your job.
Yep.
That's why. And again, I think it's that insidious way that the enemy will take a truth and tweak it, and then it becomes
Yep.
a lie.
Yep.
And so yes, it's wrong to neglect your children, but it's wrong to make your entire life about your
That's
children.
so good. Balance.
It's balance, and you've said that word I don't know how many times, and that's the best word to use here. There is a balance between how you behave in those instances, making sure that your focus is always on God.
So good.
And you're only going to find that here. You're only going to find that in the Word. I think that there's one question here. I said, what perspective does a mom have to have, whether working in or out of the home, so that she truly is a godly woman of virtue? I mean, I think, and that's where I'd like to end. The perspective you have to have is that this is not about you, and it's not about your children. This is about God. The perspective is what is my job?
Yeah.
And then therefore, what are my children's jobs? What is the role of humanity on this earth?
That's so good, Deb.
If you can keep that perspective in line, then everything else you do will fall naturally underneath it in a healthy way. It's about God. It's about how we advance His kingdom. It's about bringing Him glory. It's about showing a world that they need this God who will give them eternity. That has to be your perspective.
Yeah.
And if it is, then I can guarantee you everything you do will fall underneath that, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, and you won't be listening to the lies of the enemy. And,
so good.
because they're going to come at you continually.
Yeah.
But know the truth, and the truth will set
you
you
free.
Well, God bless you, and God bless all of you stay-at-home moms. It is what a privilege and an honor to be able to do that, and to have taken that step of submission and obedience. We're going to speak again to those moms who are working outside of the home and those who are single moms in some other shows. But do say God bless you to those of you who are stay-at-home moms right now. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be praying for you, as we hope you pray for us as well. God bless you. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. I hope it's been a blessing to you as much as it was to me. You know, if you want any of my books or information on articles or any of my speaking engagements, you can go to my website at debwaterbury.com. God bless you.